Welcome to the Football Forecast, your ultimate guide to the NFL week ahead. Get ready as we dive deep into the biggest matchups, analyze key player performances, and break down the strategies that could make or break your favorite team's chances. Whether you're looking to dominate your fantasy league, make smart picks and bets, or simply stay ahead of the game, we've got you covered with insights and predictions. So buckle up, football fans. It's time to get your game face on for another action-packed week in the NFL. While only one team can hoist the trophy at the end, it all starts with the forecast. All right, back for another episode of the Football Forecast. This is week 7 of the NFL season. I can't believe we're a third of the way through the NFL season. It's kind of a crazy thought how quick the NFL season is. Everyone says, oh, well, if you snap your fingers, part of the season is gone. Well, it's gone. But if you want to follow the show on social media, at TFB Forecast ETB, on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, follow all those pages. We put up everything you could possibly want, from this show to Thursday night. Thursday night picks, Monday night, Sunday night picks. You get everything. So make sure you follow our pages on social media as well. Make sure you follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Getting closer to 900 subscribers. Please help. That just helps our algorithm and makes everything better. So please, youtube.com/ETB Network. And if you can't watch, on the video side, listen to Football Forecast wherever you get your podcasts as well. If you don't want to watch all the madness unfold on video, listen to it on audio. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Odyssey. Basically, if you know an audio platform and it's your favorite audio platform, just click on it. It's probably there. So check us out on there. And also, the Football Forecast is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Well, guess what, fellas? The NBA is officially back, and we are looking forward to NBA opening night on Tuesday, October 22nd. We'll have Knicks Celtics, obviously ring night, which a lot of Knicks fans might not be happy to see, but a certain Celtics fan might be happy to see. And then we'll have Lakers Timberwolves.
Nas Reed.
We're back.
It's back. So, yeah.
Nas Reed!
Yeah, so Tuesday, October 22nd, the first game gets underway 7:30 Eastern time. Start time's always 15 minutes beforehand. So make sure you join us for that. All right. Let's get into the week. Excuse me. I think this slate of games is definitely better than last week.
You know what's funny? Last week we thought it was going to be total crap, but last week actually ended up being a pretty entertaining week of football.
I mean, let's put it this way. So I'll quickly go over some scores from week 6, and here's how you know it was a really good week. Now, I have to differentiate just so people understand. We have a points category, and then we keep track of wins and losses. Point totals, the lowest score for the entire week was 20 points. So that's when you know it was a good week. Everybody scored 20 plus. First time all season, everybody hit their lock at the same time.
Finally.
Including Tom. So that was great. And then the win records, the lowest win record was 8, which is still over 500 mark. And the highest was 12, which was Anthony and I. So we all had good weeks. The points total going into this week, Anthony is first with 119 points. Myself and Pat are second with 118. Let me see. Grant has 112. Nick D has 105. Ben has 102. Zan has 100. And Tom, right below the Mendoza line, 99.
The
So,
locks, not hitting the locks killed me. So,
yeah. So, but it's still close. It's only a 20-point gap between last and first.
mm-hmm.
So, this is a lot closer than some of our records in the past. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
we're already coming off of a split this week on Thursday Night Football with the Broncos and the Saints. I mean, I knew the Broncos were going to win because of how banged up the Saints were, but I don't think anybody expected the kind of blowout that we had.
No. And by the way, I totally forgot I left Javonte Adams in my fantasy lineup. Probably a good mistake, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 26 points and 2 touchdowns. And what was the score? It was like 33 to
33-3.
Oh my god. What happened to I guess Radler happened for the Saints. Just didn't do anything.
I guess
he
you
got
can say
rattled.
I guess you can say Radler unrattled.
Yeah, we both were going for the same joke there. Yeah. All right. Let's get underway. Where are we starting?
Where are we starting? Well, there is a game in the 1 o'clock window that I want to start with, and I think should be the one we start with. But unfortunately, we have one more week in Mario, London, and this happens to be the matchup. It's the New England Patriots now traveling over to, I guess we'll say, Old England to take on the Jaguars, who call England their second home. The Jaguars a 6-point favorite. Since we have a Pats fan here in Ben Cruz, Ben, you can start us off.
Yeah, we get to now face those London Jaguars on the schedule for this weekend. I know that obviously we lost last week against Houston, but I was telling Nick off the air that I thought that Drake May in his first game with a depleted offensive line and very limited weapons against a very good defense, a very good front. Yes, he obviously had a couple of mistakes, but I thought that Drake May, all in all, had a pretty good overall debut for us. I really did think that he was able to push the ball downfield a couple times, and I thought that even when we were down in some of the part of the game, which most of the time we were, the offensive coordinator, Alec Van Pelt, was able to pretty much still let him do his thing. So it was really good to see. In terms of this overall spread line, I'm taking the Patriots here. This is not me being biased, but I've been going against my team recently in the last couple of weeks. But now I feel good about this one. Jacksonville hasn't been really good a lot of this season, and I think that we can, we have Ramondre Stevenson coming back this weekend, hopefully, and defensively, I think we could be able to get it to Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going with the Patriots here, and I'm taking them outright in this game in London.
I was just going to ask. This is not just plus the points. This is an upset.
Oh yeah, taking the Pats for win number 2 here.
Okay. So Ben, I think you are onto something, and I mean on the Jaguars front, boys, they just I get it's I guess the Bears, and we talked about just how they were, like how they're a defensive special teams kind of team, and that kind of showed a little bit. But I mean, they also scored 35 points. The Jaguars just looked absolutely awful. Now, don't take offense to this, Ben, but going from the Bears, who are, have a bright future ahead of them, to the Pats, who are still a few steps behind, definitely this is a much more winnable matchup. But the way that they play and the way they let up points, like you said, Drake May, were as depleted as your team was and still is. I mean, he still played to a decent level that you can say it was a fair debut, if not just a quiet debut. So, in my mind, the Jaguars are not impressing. Not impressing me. They are just a complete letdown. 35 points against the Bears. I'll be very blunt here because I know Nick likes to do hot take of the week on his point. What I'm about to say is probably not going to be much of a hot take, but I'll say it anyway. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I am being hot with it. I think if the Jaguars get upset again and lose in London again to the New England Patriots, I don't think that the head coach there will be keeping his job. I think he'll be fired.
Said that already.
Oh, you did say that 2 weeks ago. Was it a week ago or so?
It was. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I had said that if they were to lose again, that Doug Peterson should be shown the door, and so far he has not been shown the door.
So far he hasn't, but Then again, they do have to play a second game in London, so they could just tell Peterson, take a different flight because you're not coming on the team flight back home.
Look what happened to Salah after playing in London. He got embarrassed, and then he got shown the door.
Yep. So that being said, look, I mean, the Patriots are still a weaker team. I'll give Trevor Lawrence and company the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to go thumbs middle. I'm not going to go completely confident. I'll say the Jaguars win, but knowing the way that they play in their luck and considering, what the Pats can do, I don't think the Jaguars are going to cover a 6-point spread. I really don't.
That's fair.
Okay.
Pat, you're up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, I'm actually going to agree with Ben's original opinion. I think the Jaguars are in shambles right now. I think they would have fired their head coach already if they didn't have a back-to-back in London, like Nick is saying. I just think that they aren't playing to win right now. They're playing to prove that they can actually play football. And they haven't been able to yet this season.
Wait a minute. I don't know if I agree with that. They were supposed to be a much better team this year,
for sure.
And they've been flat.
Yeah.
They were, but at this point, to what Pat's saying, now at this point, they're playing just for survival. Well, I should say Doug Peterson is coaching for survival.
Maybe.
Their actions currently, as shown too, feels like they're not motivated to win right now games. I remember when they lost last week, they asked one of the defensive players, I think Ono was a captain, but one of their better players, in terms of like essentially what happened. And he just said that he felt like their defense quit. In terms of if you're going to essentially say that, I mean, the vibes are just very, very low for them right now.
That's tough to call out your own team, knowing that's rough.
Like, in my opinion, it just feels like they are waiting to get back home and fire their coach and finally have a fresh start. So I just feel like until they get that fresh start, this team isn't competitive. Or at least maybe they'll be competitive, but I can't take them as 6-point favorites.
They're basically in placeholder mode.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
Exactly. And at 6-point favorites, I can't take the line. I could see, them winning the game, but I'm just going to take the Patriots outright, honestly.
Okay, fair enough. So we're 3 for 3 so far when it comes to picking against the spread here. Anthony, are you going to continue that train?
Yeah, I think so. But I just want to say one thing that that kind of annoys me a little bit about this. Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like it's unfair for the NFL to schedule the Jacksonville Jaguars back-to-back London games. I know it may be something minor, but honestly, it kind of really irks me and annoys me. I think it's unfair to the opposing team. I think maybe even my Buffalo Bills kind of got screwed over a couple years back over that. So I think if Jacksonville wants to play in London, I mean, if you want to have them play multiple games in London, just move the damn team there already. But
yes.
If not, at least have them play one game there and have a couple weeks in between. This definitely gives them a huge advantage. I do think because of that, Jacksonville will win this game. I don't think they'll cover. The Patriots defense is probably going to play a lot better. And I think Jacksonville's too, not good of a team right now to cover the points. And, like you guys said, they played like a team that wants to get their head coach fired. I think that's going to, kind of play out in this game. If they have another sloppy, bad performance and the Patriots go out there and win, I do think Doug Peterson will be out the door. So this team has to play for him. And if not, there's no point of keeping him there. So I definitely don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars, but being in London, I think they'll get this win. So I got Jacksonville winning, but Jacksonville no cover.
All right. And Nick Morganson.
So I pulled up the schedule just for some context on the Jaguars. They played some tough teams at the very beginning of their schedule. Now, they played Miami, obviously, before the Tua injury happened, opening game, lost by 3. Cleveland, that's a wash, just because you shouldn't lose to Cleveland at all. They get destroyed by Buffalo, 47-10. That one was not a surprise. And then they played a shockingly close game against the Texans, losing 24-20, which is the one that threw me off in my head.
And that's the thing. I feel like these guys have the ability, but for some reason, it's just not clicking this season. I don't think it's been clicking ever since, I'd say, maybe the second half of last season when the Texans kind of took the division over.
Okay, well, I'll give you a hot take number 1 right now. I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated. And the reason I think he's overrated is because I just don't think he has the game to be a top 5 quarterback. And I don't think he has the ability to, when a team is struggling, he's not going to say, rah, rah, let's go. Let's turn this around. That's just not his game at all. So I think he's overrated. And the coaching staff there is not a match for Trevor Lawrence whatsoever. Doug Peterson is not there to build a team. He's more of a veterans guy. That's more his role.
Which is funny because remember how everyone talked about how brilliant Jacksonville looked after their embarrassing one season with Urban Meyer at the helm. And now, Doug Peterson looked great. And now all of a sudden, the last season and a half.
But look at the team he had in Philly, though. He had Nick Foles, veteran guy, veteran quarterback. He works well with veteran guys. This is not a veteran team. I'm jumping on the wagon, too. I'm taking the Patriots full outright also.
Okay, wow. A lot. We are 5 for 5. Some of us are disagreeing in terms of the winner, but 5 for 5 against the spread on this one. So if you're looking for an against the spread pick, this might be it.
Nervous.
All right, now let's go into the 1 o'clock games. Let's start with the game that really we should have started with, and that is a huge game.
How is this 1 o'clock?
A huge game in the NFC. You've got the Lions traveling over to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, with the Vikings a 1.5-point favorite. I think that Sam Darnold is probably going to end up, if he continues the way that he's going to end up comeback player of the year.
Well, not according to the AP, he won't. Not according to the AP.
Why? Who does the AP say is going to be?
No. The AP is claiming that because of rules and whatever they have in place, that he can't be qualified for comeback player of the year.
Give me a break.
Oh, I don't agree with it, but that's the AP for you.
I know there's still 2/3 of the season to go, but the way that he is playing so far, he has been doing absolutely phenomenal.
Of course.
This team looks absolutely great. Obviously, there is the concern, which you and I talked about in ETB Sports, Nick, that is the reason that they acquired Cam Akers. It makes me, and especially as somebody who has a couple of stakes in Aaron Jones as a fantasy player, if Aaron Jones' injury is going to mean that, is the acquisition of Cam Akers, I should say, meaning that Aaron Jones is going to be out a lot longer than we think he is. Because Cam Akers and Ty Chandler as your backfield is a significant downgrade.
That's like B- C level at best.
At the same time, obviously, Justin Jefferson's still there. At the same time, Jordan Addison, who I thought was going to end up getting suspended, at least for quite a bit of the season after what happened in the offseason. I think he's definitely stepped up when needed. But the Lions, of course, are a tough, gritty team. Now, the big concern of the Lions is going to be they lost Aiden Hutchinson. They lost a couple of key defensive players to season-ending injuries in that last game. And I will think, I am somebody who, after watching everything that Minnesota goes through, that I would be very afraid to take them against the Lions here. At the same time, the way that they are playing and the way that the Lions have suffered those injuries, I think for once, I'm going to let myself be willing to take a team I support. Give me the Vikings. Take the money on this one. All right.
I really struggle with this matchup because I kind of have bought into this Vikings hype and the Sam Darnold type so far this season, but I don't know how serious I actually think they are. I just, I like to see them succeed. And I've always thought the Lions are like a deadly team. Like I like Jared Goff a lot. And they just have so many weapons. The Hutchinson injury hurts.
I was going to say, that's what's concerning me. It's not about the Lions and their grittiness or their offense. It's the key injuries they had last
He was heading for Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, yeah. I agree. He was the front runner for Depoy before the injury. So with that injury, that's obviously massive. He's not going to be back until next season. He broke his leg. So that hurts. But
probably not till middle next season, if I were to take a guess.
I think I'm going to go with the Lions here as the underdogs, though. A team like the Lions as the underdogs is just so tough for me, and I hate to play this game of the Vikings are going to lose eventually, but they're not going undefeated. I'll tell you that. They won't go undefeated. So a team like the Lions, a division rival, tough game, I feel like this is the game where they could potentially take it out.
Fair enough. Anthony.
Yeah, I want to say I'm definitely upset about the Aiden Hutchinson injury. I love that guy. I love the way he plays. His mentality is unbelievable, and it's tough for a guy like that to suffer an injury. He's probably the heart and soul of the Lions. I do think though that the team's going to want to play hard for him. They're going to dedicate the game and the rest of the season for him. Obviously, that could only take you so far, but I think that could definitely, pump him up for at least a few weeks. And if it wasn't for the injury, this would be a slam dunk for me. To pick the Lions. I think the Lions are the better team. And man, this division, this is the best division in the league by far. Every team in this division can play. Now, these are the top two teams in the NFC North. So this can be a very important game. Like Pat said, the Vikings are due for a loss, and they got to lose eventually. And even without Aiden Hutchinson, I love Detroit's defense. Obviously, their pass rush, they don't have much outside Aiden Hutchinson, but their secondary has been much improved. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph have been a great safety duo. I think that will, prove dividends. Plus on offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. So I'm going to go with the Lions in this one still without Aiden Hutchinson.
First time, by the way, since the realignments in 2002 when the Texans came into the league and we had the four 4-team divisions in each conference, that all four teams in a division have started with at least 4 wins through the first 6 weeks of the season.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let me we're just quickly backing off what Anthony said. Their rookie cornerback, Terrion Arnold, their first round pick, has been very good as well. Like their secondary has been
he could be defensive rookie of the year.
Exactly. Like they have had such an improved unit on defense. Even with Hutchinson out, I still think this team is extremely good.
Nick.
This is a good one. Like, this is a very good one. Obviously, division rivals. The Vikings have played surprisingly well. Sam Darnold totally shut me up for the first 5 games after the disaster in New York, and not really getting he was in San Francisco just as a backup. He really wasn't there to do much. Obviously, things happen for a reason. J.J. McCarthy goes down for the year. Sam Darnold gets a chance, gets to show what he can really do. I think he will get a pretty decent sized contract from somebody in the offseason, because I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be the starter when he's back and healthy. So some desperate team will pay him the same way that the Bucs paid Baker Mayfield 3 years, $100 million. So someone will give him that type of money to go play somewhere. This is an interesting one, though, just because no Aiden Hutchinson. He reminds me of Watt with the Steelers, like that same big defensive force and being the captain, the leader of the defense. And I think that momentum is going to drop a little on the Lions side, because that's a tough injury to recover from right before your game, essentially. So I'm going to take the Vikings to cover. I believe in the hype right now. So give me the Vikings to cover.
Okay. And Ben?
I like the Lions here. I think that, they've been the most balanced team to me right now in the NFC, just kind of the way that things have been going recently. Jared Goff's been playing incredible. I understand that the Vikings have been really, really good this year, but they're bound for a loss. They're also coming off of a bye as well. So, I think that it's going to be a really close game. Anthony was talking about Aiden Hutchinson. I really hope that he has a really good recovery coming back, because it really sucks, not only just for the team, but for the whole entire NFL. He was the sacks leader, I'm pretty sure, coming into this one. So everything just blows about it. You just never want to see anybody hurt, especially guys that are really big impactors for your team like that. So I think that the Lions defense, though, with their secondary, will still do enough to get to just guys like Justin Jefferson and some guys on their outside to kind of keep Sam Darnold to try to do a lot in terms of his arm. And I know that he's done a lot already, but I'm going to go with the Lions here. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to pick with them in this one.
Okay. And now, since the Bears actually are on the bye this week, coming back from London, let's visit the other NFC North team, and let's go to Lambeau Field, because this is also a really interesting and good matchup, as the Green Bay Packers will play host to the Houston Texans, that young, hot team. The Packers, however, coming in 2.5-point favorite. Pat, we'll start with you on this one.
This is a tough matchup for me because I love both of the quarterbacks on these teams so much.
Yeah.
Like I always say this, it's so ironic. I love Jordan Love. Like I actually do. Like since he's been starting in the NFL, he is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. CJ Stroud, same thing. I mean, they're both just electric. They turned what people considered like average weapons into superstars. Nico Collins, Jaden Reed, like, and obviously Collins is hurt now and everything, but both of these offenses are just crazy. I think this what's really going to come down to in this game is the defensive side of the ball. The Packers defense has been overperforming significantly this year. If you go and check their stats, the amount of sacks they're putting up, the amount of turnovers they're creating is ridiculous this year. On paper, I'd probably favor the Texans defense just looking at the roster. But with the way this Packers defense has been playing this year, combined with the fact that when Jordan Love is on the field on this offense, they're dropping at least 28 points a game. I have to go with the Packers here. I love the Texans, but with no Nico Collins, it is a big injury. The Packers are just so dynamic. Defense has been overperforming. Give me the Packers to cover.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers as well. When you got two great teams, there's not really much separate them. You obviously got to side with the home team. Obviously, Nico Collins was looking like the best receiver in the whole National Football League before his injury. So obviously that's devastating. You still got Tank Dell, you still got Stephon Diggs, so you still can be all right. But the Packers being at home, and like Pat mentioned it, this Packers defense has been great. I mentioned Detroit safeties, but what about the Packers safeties? Xavier McKinney might be the best safety in all of football this year. I think he may be the interception leader. He's been unbelievable. They also have Evan Williams, the rookie. He's been playing great football as well. So between those two guys and the pass rush and Jordan Love, who's been phenomenal, obviously you see each week is getting healthier and healthier. They got a lot of great receivers. They can spread the ball around. I'm going to go with the Packers too to win and cover.
Nick.
This is a really good one. Like everyone else is saying, battle of two really good quarterbacks. Obviously, I'm big on the CJ Stroud side, but Jordan Love has been really good too. I was interested in seeing how the wide receiver room was going to fill out because there was really nothing of significance for Jordan Love to throw to. And now it just seems like there's way more options. I'd like to see Josh Jacobs really pick it up and do more on the ground. Then this team would be unstoppable, in my opinion, if they could get Jacobs going and then get the ball going in the air. Obviously, like you said, no Nico Collins. That's a big injury. You still have Tank Dell. I know he's not the same player, but Tank Dell is still an option for you. Joe Mixon came back in full force off the injury and played really well. But I think the Packers just have the momentum in their corner. And usually I don't pick against the Texans very often because I think they're an offensive juggernaut. But I think this is going to be a high-scoring, close game, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see this being like a 40-37 type game, like a shootout. And whoever makes the final stop wins. So I think the Packers, if it's going to be a shootout, I think the Packers will win just because I think they have more offensive weapons right now. So I'm taking the Packers.
Ben.
Yeah, I love this matchup. Like Nick was talking about the Lions-Vikings game, I don't understand why this is a 1:00 game. You got two really young quarterbacks with two really good teams. The Texans obviously beat us last week, but I thought that for the most part, we gave them a pretty good fight in that first half. I will say the Packers, I'm going to go with them because they're a really good team at home. They've already kind of proved a lot this season. If it was the other way around, I'd probably lean towards Houston. So really the home field advantage to me in this one is going to be the deciding factor. I think Jordan Love is going to do enough. The Texans, I think the one thing that the offense of the Patriots were able to do last week was to pretty much get the guys pretty much doing well with the yards after the catch. So I'm going to go with Green Bay here to cover here.
And I'm going to complete the sweep, and I'm also going to go with Green Bay to cover. I feel like, number one, I mean, like Nick, it's very rare, considering how high I am on the Texans, for me to go against them. But number one, you're playing in Lambeau Field, which is always going to be a very difficult task. Number two, you're down a big receiver in Nico Collins. Hopefully they get him back as soon as possible. And number three, you also have, like Pat was saying, like Anthony was saying, you have a really tough defense in Green Bay. And I think that's actually, I'm going to disagree from what Nick Morrison was saying. I don't think it's going to be a shootout because I'm not sure if Houston is really ready for what's about to come their way between Xavier McKinney and the rest of that Green Bay staff, along with playing in that frozen tundra. Yeah, give me Green Bay on this one. Take the money. All right, now going down to Atlanta for another interesting matchup. Not one as, let's say, the big as the couple of NFC North games, but you've got the Seahawks, who have had their highlights this season so far, and the Falcons, who continuing on with this idea of, hey, they could be great, but for whatever reason, all their offensive talent it doesn't produce the way that it should. But the Falcons, of course, it seems like they're going to be in a chase right now. It's going to be probably them and the Bucs, the two-team race for that South Division. The Falcons, a 3-point favorite. Anthony, start us off. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, take the money on the Falcons. I understand the Falcons, didn't play a great game last week against the Carolina Panthers, but we've always said, division games, are tough. They know each other better than anybody else. So division games are tough to predict, and you can't really take too much from a division game. So I'm not going to take away from how great Atlanta's offense and team has looked the previous weeks, just because of what happened against Carolina. I do think Bijan Robinson played a little bit better. It seems like they're starting to get him going. If they can get him going with, Drake London and all the rest of those guys with Kirk Cousins, this offense can be really tough to play. Surprisingly for the Falcons, they brought in Matthew Judon, and their pass rush has really not been that great. So they got to get that pass rush going. But the reason why I'm going to go with the Falcons is, one, that they're home, and two, I just don't trust the Seahawks. I think Geno Smith has been very inconsistent this year. He doesn't look like the same quarterback he was a year or two ago. Obviously, DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba has been doing okay, but I feel like Geno Smith has been holding that offense back a little bit. Their defense does have players on it, like Derek Hall, but honestly, I just don't trust Geno right now, so I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Nick.
Yeah, I basically agree with everything Anthony said. The Falcons are the better team. Geno is kind of falling back into the old-fashioned Geno a little bit from back in the day, holding back the offense, not making the throws that he was making, which earned him this contract way back when. Seattle's kind of a mystery bag to me a little bit too. You don't know what team you're getting every single week. The Falcons have been way better than I was expecting, and I just think the Falcons are a better team in this matchup. So I agree with Anthony. I'm going to take them to cover.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm going with Atlanta here. I pretty much agree with Anthony and Nick. I just think that Kirk Cousins, he's not playing on prime time, and even though he's been playing much better in prime time this year. So that's one thing. The second thing, I don't think that the Seattle defense hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. They just let the New York Giants and Pat and Tom, I know that obviously your offense has been recently better this year, but for them to go into Seattle across country and for them to put up the amount of points they put up, I was extremely surprised. And, they gave a ton of points to the Lions offense, which I know is a really good offense. But just the overall kind of trend recently, I just really haven't liked for them. So, I'm going to go with Atlanta here to cover.
Yeah, I'm basically not going to add anything new to the arguments that Anthony, Nick, and Ben have been making. Atlanta should be the better team. And it's not so much about, the Giants beating the Seahawks. It's a matter of that the Falcons really are the better team on paper. Now, I'm not as down on the Seahawks as others have. I did predict the Seahawks to sneak into the playoffs like that last playoff seed. I think they're still, Geno, as much as we have the concerns about him now, he can still deliver. They still have Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson as well. Look, as much as the Seahawks, I'm not as down on the Seahawks. The Falcons should be better. They honestly should be, with Kirk, with Drake London there, Bijan, all the weapons that they have on this team. I don't know, guys. It's so frustrating. Falcons can be one of the most frustrating teams to watch in football because of what their potential is. And at the way that they're playing, I don't think that they're going to end up taking the division against the Bucs. Now, having said that, as Anthony mentioned, division games, they always can go one way or another. They're the worst to predict. So I'm going to give the Falcons the benefit of the doubt. I do have questions about the Seahawks defense, considering the number of points they gave up to the Giants. I'm going to agree with all you guys. Take the money on the Falcons. And
by the way, By the way, I would say the Falcons are the Philadelphia 76ers, meaning that they have all
the
these great
potential in the
weapons,
world,
all the potential in the world, all these big weapons, and then, they're going to win, and they don't win.
All right, Pat.
I can add something to the conversation.
Okay.
I'm going to quote my friend Kirko Bangs on this one.
Uh-oh.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap.
Oh, no.
That is what Kirk Cousins said. I don't know who he said. A former teammate used to say that saying, and he said it at a press conference the other day. But to quote Kirk Cousins, I love the Falcons. No, but seriously, I love the Falcons. I think they're a great team. If I know a couple of you were there for my NFC predictions, and I predicted the Falcons to be one of the top teams in the NFC.
Mhm.
I'm still riding with that. They're still 4-2. They lost week 1 to the Steelers. Was a pretty tough loss, but I think it was because they didn't play their players in the preseason. They lost to the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. I think they're on a run. They won 3 games in a row now. Seahawks lost 3 games in a row now. They're starting to show more of their true colors, I'd say, both of these teams. So I think that the Falcons -3 is a beautiful line here, I guess you could say, because I think the Falcons will definitely win this game, and -3 definitely gives you enough room to say that, the Falcons will cover, in my opinion.
Okay. All Falcons -3. I like it. All right. Speaking of division games, because we made reference to,
nice.
let's go up to MetLife for another division game. The Eagles and Giants, the first time they're meeting this season. The Eagles a 3.5-point favorite on the road. I want to hear from my Giants brethren Pat here first before I make any sort of analysis or prediction.
So I actually think this is going to be a decently high-scoring game. Nothing crazy, but I actually think this will be decently scoring. Malik Neighbors is coming back now this week. We're expected to, use Tyrone Tracy a bit more in the offense, and I'm interested to see how that Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy look is going to be. I just feel like we're going to have a lot more weapons this week. We'll have Malik, we'll have Wandale, we'll have the RBs. I think the Eagles' defense has been subpar this year so far, so it's not anything that I'm necessarily scared of for our offense. And I think the Eagles' offense themselves are getting their weapons back. I know Goddard's out, but A.J. Brown and Smith will be back. They have Saquon. I just think this is going to be a decently high-scoring game in general. I do think the Eagles will probably beat us, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did pull off the upset in the division matchup. I will say I think the Eagles cover just because the Giants are the Giants, division game against one of the better teams in our division. We haven't been winning a lot of those in recent years. So I'm just going to go with that flow and say the Eagles do win and cover, but I feel like we will make it a fun and competitive game. And like I said, decent amount of points.
And my hope is also for a more fun and competitive game now that we are getting our weapons back. But as you said, Eagles also starting to get a little bit of their weapons back. And that's my one concern, by the way, what you said at the end. It's a division matchup. It's against the Eagles. And for years now, they just cannot beat the Eagles. Last year, they came close They came close in 1 week. And then week 18, both teams were kind of out. And the Giants just basically took advantage of the Eagles not playing their starters because they were going into the wild card round as the Eagles were on their downward trend. But is that really a game you can count considering that they rested the starters? I don't know if that's necessarily one that I can count. And then Christmas time, they came close, but at the end of the day, still lost. They were the one team that lost in that downward stretch. So I'm looking at this. I want to be hopeful. I want to think that this is a fun game, but I would not be surprised if this ends in typical heartbreak fashion for the Eagles. I'm going to go Eagles. I'm going to go take the money. And I hate doing this, but it's a shorter line. I need the points. I need the I need the, I need to do better on my locks. I'm so sorry, Giants Nation. I'm locking this.
Whoa.
One. I have to. The half, I was going to do it at -3, and then obviously before recording we had the half-point hook.
You would still need to win by 4 regardless.
Yeah, so I can't do it. I got to do it. As much as it pains me as a Giants fan, knowing the history against the Eagles, I feel like this is probably one of the more favorable lines for a lock pick this week.
Wow.
And by the way, you go wow, but Zan is actually also going to go with the Eagles as a lock.
Actually, ironically, I talked them into doing that.
That was your responsibility. Okay. All right, so that's all your fault. Interesting.
Yes.
Before we get to yours, though, let's go to Anthony.
Yeah, division matchups. Obviously could go either way. I said it a million times. So would I be surprised if the Giants win? No, not at all. Especially with Malik Neighbors coming back. I like the way Tyron Tracy has played. Obviously, the Giants can play great defense. That's never been a question. But with the Eagles, what about Nick Sirianni arguing with his own fans? I mean,
I was going to get to that too.
I mean, when I saw it at first, I'm like, wait, were the Browns the home team? There's no way he could be arguing with his own fans. And I'm like, wait, he was. And we already know how the Eagles fans are the craziest fans in the NFL. They boo you even if you already won a Super Bowl. So they already don't like Nick Sirianni. And the sad part is I really do think Nick Sirianni is a smart offensive mind. I think he has a lot to do with, Jalen Hurts' development. But the thing is, the guy is just too immature to be the CEO of your team. He's just too immature to be a National Football League head coach right now. He argues with fans and he just does way too much stuff. And, if he goes out there and lays an egg, as good as a coach he is, he could be on the hot seat as well. But I still think the Eagles are the better team. They're getting healthy, and it's hard to stop, a guy like A.J. Brown, a guy like Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley all at the same time. So I'm going to go with the Eagles to win and cover as well.
By the way, Anthony, I'm honestly shocked Nick Sirianni even kept his job after the collapse of last season.
I think it was just because he was going to get another chance just based off of the team
10-1
playing well.
Start or whatever it was. All right, fair enough. Nick, since you talked Zan into taking that as a lock.
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, this is not my lock. So
I wonder what it could be. I only wonder.
Actually, I think you might be surprised, but you'll hear that later. I look at this game. By the way, Saquon Barkley revenge game, obviously.
That too.
I will tell you, I think Saquon Barkley is going to go off for 150 yards. That's a prediction. I'm making a bonus prediction on the side of this game. Number two, I just think the Eagles are better offensively. The Giants are kind of a walking hospital right now of injuries. Andrew Thomas, which we haven't brought up yet, done for the year also. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a massive injury. Even though I'm not blaming Daniel Jones for these losses, he doesn't look great by any means out there either. So I'm not blaming him for the losses, but he's part of the problem. He's not really a good quarterback in this system for this team to win. And they're stuck with him because they overpaid him $40+ million a year. So now they're stuck.
Well, it goes back, number one, there is an out after this season as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Agreed. Yeah.
Number two, it goes back to something I mentioned last week, and I think we kind of talked about in ETB Sports at one point. Actually, no, I think we were off the air, but as much as Danny is okay, nothing special, maybe you want to move on from the season with how much money he's paying, the way that Dable's been coaching, I think I have more questions I have more questions about him than I do with Danny at this point.
But long story short, I think Saquon's going to come in like major revenge mode. I think like I said, I think he's going to have 150 yards. I think he's going to have 2 touchdowns, and I think he's going to win. I think the Giants fans are going to boo the team out of the stadium, knowing they could have kept him in a Giant uniform. And I think this is going to be not just a cover, but a massive cover. I think they're going to win by a touchdown plus. Give me the Eagles.
All right. Ben.
Yeah, of course, this is your guys' first matchup against the Eagles. It always tends to kind of be in the mid part of the season, at least kind of recent. I know kind of the recent old days they typically would have earlier on. But to have Malik Neighbors back is massive. You saw what happened last week without him. Daniel Jones just kind of looked like the same Daniel Jones that we've kind of criticized him for. I will say, the Eagles haven't really blown anybody out so far this year. You kind of looked at what happened last week against a really bad Browns team, and Nick Sirianni was celebrating after the game like they won the Super Bowl. I mean, he's completely over his head the whole entire season. Their defense has obviously been good, but I do think when you look at the Giants, they'll make it close. But I think that the Eagles with a 3.5 point spread, if there was a 7.5 point spread, I think that the Giants, take the spread here, but I think the Eagles are going to cover this 3.5, and they're going to win probably like Nick said, probably like by a touchdown. This is going to be a close game.
All right. So going Eagles all across the board there, it seems. Okay. Now, guys, it's going to be time for what I like to call life in the fast lane, because there's 5 games in a row that are all fast trackable.
Wow. Okay.
Speaking of the Eagles, it's a good transition, thinking back to their song, Life in the Fast Lane. Bengals and Browns going up. I mean, this is divisional. It's a Battle of Ohio going to Cleveland and their stadium, which apparently may end up getting torn down without the Browns ever going to a playoff home game there.
Well, yeah, they officially agreed to a deal, so that it's not until 2028, but
clock's ticking.
But the clock's ticking, and yes, they did officially. The mayor came out and officially announced it.
Oh, all right, so that's official. Let's start things off with Anthony.
Yeah, this definitely screams lock of the week. But wow, that 6 points is a lot. Being on the road in a division game, I think that may be what scares me away from going with the lock of the week. Even though I do think the Bengals will win, and now that the Browns don't have Amari Cooper, I mean, they already didn't have offense to begin with. But being in a division game, we never know how these things are going to go. So I can't pick it as my lock of the week, but take the money on the Bengals to win and cover.
All right, Nick Morgan. Actually, I should have started with you, Nick Morganson, considering you're Mr. Bengals here.
No surprises here. Bengals to cover. I mean, the Browns are terrible. And like Anthony, I was going to bring that up, but Anthony beat me to it. The Amari Cooper trade basically depleted their offense completely, and now Deshaun Watson is going to get shown out like a sore thumb without having him on the offense. So this is one of the easiest games of the week. Bengals cover.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, obviously, like I mentioned, I think before, they needed to get on some type of run. They lost they beat the Giants last week, but now it's all about, can they kind of get themselves back on track? The Bengals offense was not great at all last week, kind of given all their standards, but they did enough, and their defense kind of showed up last week, which they haven't been doing a lot of this season. That's been a reason why that they haven't been doing so well this year. So I think that the defense feels a little bit of confidence coming into this one. The Browns obviously lost one of their main targets, like you guys mentioned, Amari Cooper. Of course, he's now to Buffalo, Anthony's team. So yeah, we're going to see. I think that the Bengals offense gets back on track, and I think that the defense continues their little streak that they have going on, if there's any type of streak. But they really kind of need these wins down the stretch here. I don't think that they're as bad as Nick DiMartino said last week. I don't think the record is as bad as they indicate, but they really need to get things going here against a team like Cleveland, who's not been a good team at home, without their now best weapon, now without Amari Cooper now. I think the Bengals take this one. I think they have the best overall game this week. Take the money.
Is anyone really expecting me to pick the Browns the way that they've been playing?
Well, the Browns are playing like Brown. Right
yeah,
now.
Exactly. Their color perfectly, their team name color perfectly describes them, especially now that Amari Cooper has been shown the door. It is one of the only weeks at this point that I can actually bring out the old meme and say, don't disrespect the Bengals. Take the money.
Yeah, I mean, that was about as easy as it gets. And I'll throw one take out there.
Hold on. Pat still has to make it.
Oh, I was going to throw one take and then let him finish.
Okay.
But I was just going to say, I think Stefanski's job is on the line. I do.
I wouldn't be shocked. Pat?
My friend's a Browns fan, and he wants the number 1 pick. He's pissed off. The Amari Cooper trade shows that they're done for the year and that they gave up completely. Bengals lock of the week. Put it in. I know it's a big line, and I hate picking division games. I was really trying to pick the Falcons, but Seahawks at least are a good team. The Browns are, and they just traded their best weapon. They showed that they're done for the year, in my opinion, with that move. The Bengals need to win games, and it's not like their defense is, that's not like their offense is bad. It's their defense losing them games. I don't think the Browns will have anything on offense to combat the Bengals offense. So Bengals lock of the week, -6. They should be able to outscore the Browns by at least that offensively.
Fair enough. All right. Going up to Buffalo now. Speaking of Amari Cooper, you got the Buffalo Bills hosting the Titans. Our biggest spread of the week, boys. 9.5-point favorite are the Buffalo Bills. And since I went with Anthony first last time when I should have gone with Nick, we'll do it the other way around this time. So Nick Morganson, you can start us off.
Yeah, this is not a good game. I mean, the Titans are resilient, but it's not great. The Bills have injuries. The Bills have some questions, but they played decently last week, as I'm looking at their box score. But Josh Allen has some questions to answer, even though he played great. Just the offense needs to get itself consistent and ready to go by the time the playoffs come around, because I think they're going to win the division because of everything else that's going on in that division right now. So they just got to get back to playing Buffalo Bills football, and the Titans are not going to be a competition for them. Bills take them on.
Anthony, now we'll go to you.
Yeah, you definitely got to have questions about the offense. I mean, I'll never have questions about Josh Allen. I mean, that guy puts our team on his back week in and week out. But obviously, you saw, Shakir was out there, but only for a few plays. So you can see he's not 100%. Obviously bringing in Amari Cooper, really helps. Now that Tyron Johnson's healthy for the Bills, that's huge as well. But, honestly, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Titans have a really good defense this year. They're one of the top defense this year against the pass. They don't give up a lot of passing yards. They got a couple of, unknown, under radar defensive players on their defense that a lot of people aren't talking about. And, if it wasn't for Will Levis throwing the ball over and costing this team games, I feel like the Titans could have a winning record if it wasn't for Will Levis. And, Tony Pollard's been playing good football as well. This line is way too huge. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills are the much better team. I do think the Buffalo Bills will win, but I think the Titans' defense is just too good to have that big of a point spread. So I got the Buffalo Bills no cover.
Yeah, that was going to be my one concern heading this, is that it's that line, that -9.5 line. Ben, where are you going with this one?
I feel like, to me, this is the biggest mismatch of the weekend. I just think when I look at the teams, the Titans are more in a massive rebuild. Their quarterback situation is a massive mess. They're going to a really tough environment in Buffalo, which, Anthony, you guys play really, really well in Buffalo. I don't care in terms of who it is. Josh Allen just continues to be the king over there at his overall place. I love Buffalo, and this is my lock of the week. I just think that, I know that this line is massively big, but I think that with the addition of Amari Cooper, you get an overall weapon. They didn't have James Cook even last week, and they played really, really well against the Jets, even though it was a close game. I like the Bills here, and that's my lock of the week.
Ray Davis
had a great game. I would say, though, I do think you guys got to give Amari Cooper a week or two. I think Devontae Adams will obviously be able to come right in with Aaron Rodgers. Amari Cooper's going to take, I think, a couple weeks to get invested into the offense with Joe Brady, but eventually he'll be solid. Just give him a week or two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always going to be an adjustment.
Well, the thing, though, is when you get a guy like Cooper, even if he's not doing well, it's a weapon you got to focus on. So essentially that secondary, regardless, I know you're mentioning the Titans are looking against the pass. Now, essentially, you got to see who the other guys are around. And Josh Allen's did a really good job of kind of getting those other guys involved. So
100%.
I know the line is scary, and I usually, Nick Morganson and I have something we hate picking with the big lines, but I'm still going to take the Bills to cover in this one, only because you talk about the level of talent. Yes, the Titans have a damn good secondary, but I think the Bills and their talent, how great their offense is, just screams much better and can outlast that secondary. And as far as the Titans offense goes, I mean, do you really want me to say anything about that? Although, as of the night we're recording this, I believe Will Levis is now questionable.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And if he's not playing, then this is going to be even worse of a blowout. So
I feel like if he doesn't play, it gives the Titans a better chance. I think Rudolph might be the better quarterback.
You might be right, actually.
Yikes. Actually, you might be right. Either way, Bills take the money. Pat, I think we got to get yours, right?
We do have to get mine. I would like to say I heard some laughs before after Ray Davis's name was mentioned. Do not laugh about Ray Davis.
Oh no, I'm not laughing.
Do not laugh about Ray Davis.
Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why I was laughing?
Why?
I have James Cook in I have a big 16 team league that I'm in, and I had James Cook. I lost him. I said, "Oh crap!" Ended up picking Ray Davis, and I think I enjoyed quite the night.
No, you definitely
And Josh
enjoyed the
Allen was
night.
my quarterback in that team too.
Yeah, no, you definitely enjoyed that. Then I actually liked Ray Davis a lot coming out of college. I thought he was one of the most pro-ready running backs, and it was good to see people realize, like, oh crap, this guy's actually good. So that was fun. But I will be picking the Bills in this matchup. Too many points for me to lock it or anything like that. But the Bills should be able to cover for sure. I think they're the better team significantly. Obviously, I mean, just roster wise, the Titans are just a dumpster fire. Honestly, I mean, Ridley had 8 targets last week, I think it was, without a catch.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch the plays, you could argue that like four of those were catchable, probably 3 or 2, realistically. He's not even getting catchable passes. I mean, that's how bad the offense is.
He was frustrated last
And then
week,
he
if
was
I'm not mistaken.
He
Rightfully
was throwing them
so.
under the bus too.
Oh, right. I mean, dude, he literally had 8 targets and could only probably catch 3 or 4 of them, and a couple, maybe like 1 or 2 were for sure his fault. But I mean, and like this team is a dumpster fire. You can't pick them to even cover against a team like the Bills at this point.
All right. Going on now to another fast track matchup, which is just absolutely disgusting. The Dolphins taking on the Colts in Indianapolis. The Colts a 3-point favorite at home. Then start us off on this one.
Yeah, give me Indy. I know that they obviously they won a tough one on the road last week against the Titans in Nashville. Speaking of the Titans, but the Dolphins, I just don't trust them right now with their overall quarterback situation. I know without Tua, it really sucks. Apparently, he's coming back this year, which is a good sign. But I do think Joe Flacco, who's been riding high really well recently. I did hear though that Anthony Richardson's coming back.
Supposedly Richardson. Supposedly Richardson. Well, there was a possibility he could have came back last week, and then he suffered some sort of setback or something. Because Saturday they said, "Oh no, he's not going to play." So, attempt number 2 for Richardson.
Yeah. So, I mean, regardless, I think who's going to be out there, I think that the Colts are going to take this game. It's not going to be pretty per se, but I just don't trust the quarterback situation for Miami. Miami also has an awful team against the run. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is being primed to have a really good game on the ground. So, yeah, take the money here. Indy's been pretty good at home as well, too. I know I've been kind of saying that like a broken record for some teams that are really good at home, but it's the facts here. Yeah, give me Colts here. Take the money.
Did the sound play?
Yep.
I didn't hear. Okay, I didn't hear it on my end for some reason. Okay, so now I know I'm good to go. Because what's funny to me is, I hate the fact. Well, I shouldn't say I hate the fact. I mean, the lock is already pressure in itself. But can I be completely honest? If there was a true lock that I could play this week, it's for whatever reason. I think as of 4 hours ago from the time we're recording, the Colts Dolphins game, the over/under is set at 43.5 points. I would say smash that under. Seriously, this is not going to be a good game. This is not going to be a fun matchup. Now, granted, I think even if Joe Flacco starts again, he has just been absolutely, I hate to use the term because of the memery of it, but elite with Joe Flacco. Anthony Richardson, though, he is going to play. I think if Richardson plays, he is still going to be affected by the injury a little bit. I think there still will be some rust on him, but when you consider what the Dolphins look like with Tua not at the helm, I got to take the money on this one with the Colts. As far as the whole thing about Mike McDaniel saying Tua is going to come back, I just worry because I want the man to be healthy. And I'm scared about him coming back this season on the way that the Dolphins have been playing, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt again.
Well, by the way, but what I was going to say is, if I'm the Dolphins, what they really should be saying is our team stinks. Don't come back this year. That's what they should say.
Pat,
I hate this game. I went to go. So when I was looking at this game, I was making a nice little parlay. Right, I was looking at all the games this week. I looked at this game, and I was sitting there. I was like, maybe I can do this guy's rushing yards, this guy's passing yards. Maybe I'll do an over/under, alternate spread, something like that. I'm looking. I can't trust a goddamn thing in this game.
No,
they all stink. Everyone on these teams. Jonathan Taylor was the only decent saving grace, and then it was like, oh, he's out this week. Oh,
he
okay.
he
Oh
is
yeah,
out this
yes,
week.
that is true.
And
He is
not
out.
to disregard the great players on the Dolphins offense, but just the Dolphins offense in general without Tua. We come on, So I this is a dumpster fire. It's horrible. I'm gonna choose the Colts because they're at home. I think that's probably why they're 3-point favorites, honestly. So
Probably.
I'm gonna choose the Colts because they're at home, and that's gonna be the simplicity of this pick because I think both these teams are just dumpster fires.
Pat, do you want me to be completely honest with you?
Please.
I was thinking about taking this as the lock instead of the Giants game, but like you just said, nothing is trustworthy in this matchup.
Like I don't know what I could say. Like will for sure happen in this game. It could be a 7-3 game. It would shock me.
You know what?
It wouldn't. Like
You know
I
what?
said,
Okay.
no,
Good.
I was gonna say, like I said, smash that under. That's my betting advice for this game.
The thing is, it could be a 7-3 game, or since the Colts defense is so bad, the Dolphins could put up 30, and the Colts offense could actually be alive and put up like 24 in return. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's one of those games that the total point spread could be anywhere between like 10 and 60.
Fair enough. Anthony.
Yeah, I don't like this game at all. Honestly,
I
you
think
guys are
anyone does.
talking about, saying everything stinks in this game and you can't really trust anything. One thing I thought I could trust was Joe Flacco slinging that pigskin all over the field. But I guess we're not going to get that because Anthony Richardson's going to play. Because of that, I'm still going to go with the Colts. I'm not going to pick Tyler Huntley or whoever is going to be the quarterback for the Dolphins. Without Tua, they're frankly just not a good football team. So, it's just unfortunate because I feel like Joe Flacco really gets this offense going. He gets Alex Pierce involved in the game. He really opens up this offense. But I'm not going to trust, the Dolphins' offense. And honestly, I like the Colts' two corners. Samuel Womack and Jalen Jones have been pretty good as well. So I think that would be just enough, and also being the home team. So take the money on the Colts to win and cover.
And Nick Morganson.
This is ugly. I mean, ever since Tua goes out, how can you favor them to win any game going whatsoever? You look at the splits between when he starts and when he doesn't start. The offense is like night and day when he's not on the field and not running it. Now, obviously, the Colts are a mystery box, and we have no idea what to expect from them whatsoever. They get good wins, then they play a few stinkers. I mean, but with Jonathan Taylor being out, that's a problem also. I did look at the line, by the way, Tom, or the over-under. It's 43.5 currently.
Yeah.
So I think I would definitely smash the under on that one big time. I don't think you're going to see 44 points in this game. That's an insane amount between these two teams. So it's going to be an ugly game. And in this case, I think the ugliness favors the Colts. So take the Colts to cover.
All right. Next fast track. We got the Rams at home playing host to the Raiders, who have now officially traded Devontae Adams. So you look at that offense, which is now led by, whatever the quarterback is at this point. And now with the Rams, who are 7-point favorite at home, the rumor this week is Cooper Kupp going to be ready for a comeback?
Please.
This is another ugly game. If Cooper Kupp is not ready, it stinks because I'm making this decision based on something that we don't know at this point. And that is if Cooper Kupp is ready or not. But the way that the Rams have been playing, that I'm not giving any shot to the Raiders at this point. They are, you can call them toast because they are done. Well burnt toast, completely finished. And they're probably going to be competing with the Browns and company for the number 1 overall pick of this upcoming draft. My problem is the Rams because the Rams just have not exactly played great. And to me, that's scaring me with a 7-point line. If Cooper Kupp was ready and Cooper Kupp was healthy, I would feel more confident taking this line. But if I'm going to have to make my pick now with Cooper Kupp still questionable, we have no certainty about his status for Sunday and the way the Rams have been playing, I'm going to say Rams win. Thumbs middle. I think the Raiders managed to cover. This is not going to be a good game. Pat.
If the Raiders were at home, I'd consider it a bit more, but the fact that they just traded Devontae, just switched to Aiden O'Connell, who I'm not particularly high on by any means. I just think it's like they're in a bad situation right now. They're kind of I don't want to say they're giving up in the way that the Browns are, but they're not looking to make a run this year at all. They're not looking to be a winning team. The Rams still need to be. They have older pieces. They need to be focused on winning now. They just kind of got screwed with early injuries and stuff like that, and their defense being a little flawed. But I think Cooper Kupp is going to be back based on what I've seen. I know he's questionable now, but I'm going to go with that he is back. And Cooper Kupp and Kyrie Williams are just so much more dynamic than anything the Raiders have. I love Brock Bowers, but he's still young, and just with O'Connell, there's no connection there yet from what we know. So give me the Rams here to cover. I think just those two pieces on offense alone. I like some of the pieces on defense, Jared Verse. I just think the Rams at home will be able to cover the 7-point spread, but it wouldn't shock me if they didn't. I think they win the game regardless, but yeah.
Yeah. Anthony.
Yeah, I got Rams, but no cover. Obviously, the Raiders, they're pretty much taking. They're trying to get Shedeur Sanders or one of those top quarterbacks in the upcoming draft. Or whatever your thoughts are. There's other good quarterbacks in the draft as well. But the Rams, though, obviously, Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams have been trying to carry this offense as much as they can. Obviously, they could only do so much, but like Pat said, it's still better than anything the Raiders have. And I'm not high on Aiden O'Connell. Even though both quarterbacks aren't necessarily good, I think Gardner Minshew is probably still better than Aiden O'Connell. And the Rams, yeah, they have a flawed defense, but I think where their defense is flawed is in the secondary. They got a lot of banged up players back there, and they got a lot of young and inexperienced. And the Raiders just don't have the quarterback or the offense to exploit that bad secondary. And the Rams do have a great defensive line. They got Colby Turner, they got Jared Verse, and I think that will be able to take advantage of the Raiders' offense. So I'm going to go Rams, but no cover.
All right, Nick Morrison.
Yeah, I like the Rams way better than a lot of people are saying. Do I think they're perfect by any means? No. They are far from a perfect team. They have flaws, some offensively, some defensively too. The Raiders are a dumpster fire, just in every way, shape, or form, because they keep switching between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, and they can't make up their mind on sticking with one guy. You just can't win every time you switch a quarterback. That just doesn't work. The formula does not work. You can't develop the playbook and what you're going to do if you're going to keep switching guys. And the Raiders are a much younger team, inexperienced team. The Rams, I think Cooper Kupp is going to play because that's why they purposely waited until after the bye week to get him back. So they gave him week 5. They had a bye week in week 6, and I think the whole point was to get him back by week 7. So if Cooper Kupp is back, now he's not going to be perfect because obviously he hasn't been in game action, but that allows them to spread the offense more and do more. So I'm going to take the Rams to cover.
Okay. And Ben.
Yeah, this is just one of those games that just is not fun at all. You have two teams. You have one team that's, like Nick mentioned, a dumpster fire. Moving on from Devontae Adams pretty much tells me that they're kind of ready to sell some pieces. Wouldn't it shock me that Max Crosby might get traded, at the trade deadline, because there's just been a lot of him.
That would be huge.
They already said no. The Raiders reports have already come out and said that they're refusing to trade him in any deals.
Yeah, let's see how you play after this week, and let's see how you think about that then.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to roll it out. I mean, I don't think he will leave, but like a lot of those type of guys are going to move on from there. It's just not a good situation whatsoever. The Rams, I do think they have a decent offense. It's very up and down, but their defense is very, their secondary, like Anthony mentioned, it's not great. But I think that just the Raiders don't have a lot of guys on the outside. Jacoby Myers has been banged up recently too, so there's just not a lot there. When you kind of look at it, so I feel pretty confident with the Rams here with this overall line. Yes, is it obviously going to be perfect? No, but they're going to do enough to cover this one. So take the money here for the Rams.
Now going down to Washington, D.C., also tied for our biggest spread of the week. The Commanders, a 9.5-point favorite at home against Carolina. This is our last stop on the fast track before we get into the really good stuff and prime time. Pat, start us off.
So I love the Commanders. I think 9.5 is so many points, though. The Panthers do have some life on offense. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's kind of a beast. Dalton's been good enough, I guess. Deontay Johnson's been pretty solid. I just don't love the 9.5. And if you want my honest opinion, even the money line here is like minus 500 creeping up to that. I think it's a trap. Like I'm pretty like worried that this game is a trap. Like it's just one of those games that has that feeling to me of upset vibes. I don't know why.
What?
Yes, yeah, it does. I'm not gonna pick
Wait.
it. I'm
Okay.
going to pick the Commanders to win but not cover. But at the same time, it does have those vibes to me of a game that everyone just no brainer picks the Commanders, and the Panthers do get the upset because it's just one of those games, you know.
All right. Let's hear from Anthony next.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Commanders no cover. I know the Panthers aren't a good team, but that is a lot of points to give up, and I'm not 100% sold on the Commanders defense. Their secondary tends to give up points. So obviously, Andy Dalton has been obviously better than Bryce Young, and with Deontay Johnson and Chuba Hubbard, I think they'll be able to do enough. I think the Commanders will still win by 7 or 8 points, but not 10. So I got Commanders no cover.
All right, Nick Morganson. I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one.
This is crazy to me what I'm hearing. The Commanders have been playing some of the best football in the league the past couple of weeks. You're telling me they can't beat a crappy Panthers team? Is that what I'm hearing? Like from a spread perspective?
I mean, if you just want my opinion, it just feels like a trap. It just feels like a game that's way too easy to pick, and that's why.
How is playing a game against the Panthers a trap? Tell me.
Well, because I mean, their offense isn't as bad as it actually seems.
Sometimes you play down competition too.
Chuba Hubbard has been one of the best RBs in the NFL. Deontay has looked really good since Dalton went behind there.
No.
Like Anthony said, like the Commanders' defense, it's had a decent start, but I'm not fully sold on them either, especially that secondary. So I'm just a little bit weary on the 10-point cover. It's just I think that I do agree that the Commanders are one of the best young teams, especially offenses in football. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. This week specifically, though, this just feels like such a trap game to me.
You can't play the Panthers as a trap. Tom, get my banner. I need it.
Oh, yeah. This is actually pretty fitting.
So don't disrespect the Bengals. And by the way, lock.
You're
on the Commander.
Wait, you are actually taking a big line. That's very rare.
I'm stunned what I'm hearing about that the Panthers can play trap. That's probably the most ridiculous thing I've heard this week. The Commander, Jaden Daniels has been playing some of the best quarterback in the league so far this year. They almost stayed in the game with the Ravens and really played that game well. It was close.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm locking. They're going to crap all over the Panthers. This is not a trap. Give me Commanders in a lock.
Okay, Ben.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm going to kind of go here in the middle with you guys. Yes, I do think that the Commanders are going to win this, and I think that they're going to win this game by more than the spread, but barely. Something tells me like a 10-point win, like a 27-17 type of game, like a backdoor cover almost. I think it's going to be kind of a close game in the first half, but I do think that the Commanders just have too much offensively. Jaden Daniels has been really, really good. It's not just the way that he's been playing, but just overall poise for a young quarterback has been really impressive.
Yes.
And the Panthers just don't have a great defense. They give a ton of points. Their offense is just completely a mess. But, you guys were talking about the Commanders' defense. I'm not really sold on them either, but I do think that their offense has done enough so far with Jaden Daniels at the helm that they're going to win this game, and they're going to win by just enough here for this overall spread. So I know there's obviously a big spread here, but I'm taking the money by like 10 points.
And let me be clear. I don't think it's going to be a blow through on that lock. I think, like Ben said, it's going to be like 10 to 12 points. But I think let's not disrespect here.
Okay. And I'm actually going to go on the same track that Nick Morganson and Ben are going on. I think it's definitely going to be tough to cover this spread, even though it is the Panthers, just considering the nature of a large spread. But a 10 to 12 point victory for this team is absolutely doable. I understand, like what Pat and Anthony are saying, that the questions about the secondary of the Washington Commanders. But at the same time, I think what Jaden Daniels has been doing and how he's already developing what he does on offense is just incredible and kind of balances out and makes up for that in the long run. I don't want to, I want to give as the props to what Pat was saying, like Chuba Hubbard. absolutely great, absolutely underrated as a running back. It took several years for him to develop within that system, but I think he's finally making strides, finally making progress. And I know the Panthers have a couple of good pieces in their defense, but I think the Commanders are just the better team. And I think Jaden Daniels is just too good of a quarterback, constantly making adjustments. Like Ben talked about his poise. It's so good. Like he is just phenomenal to watch. And when you're when you're keeping yourself in there against a juggernaut like the Ravens, that's worth something. So I got to go with the Commanders here. This is the kind of line where I would go thumbs middle just to guarantee the point, but I think the point is guaranteed already in a Commanders victory. So I'm going to say, yeah, take the money. All right. Now it's time for, before we get to prime time for a really good game, boys. It's the game of the week. The 49ers hosting the Chiefs. Super Bowl rematch. 49ers a 1.5-point favorite. Anthony, start us off with this one.
Yeah, maybe potentially game of the week. Obviously a rematch of two of the last few Super Bowls. This will be a good matchup. Both teams have obviously, have been devastated with injuries. Just one team has been able to continue to pull out and win these close games, and one team hasn't. One team being the home team in the 49ers, I think they're obviously starting to get a little bit more healthier. The Chiefs right now, they're offensively no Rashee Rice, no Isaiah Pacheco. That's tough. Honestly, you could give, talk about Pat Mahomes in the MVP conversation, but what's really been winning these games for the Chiefs has been their defense. Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie, they really been carrying the load for them. But being the home team, obviously they're going to be really motivated. For them, this is probably the game they've circled at the beginning of the season. They've been wanting to get back at the Chiefs. Kyle Shanahan has to be pissed off. So, and the Chiefs are due for a loss. They can't keep winning these close matchups, and at some point, the injuries on offense have to catch up with them, and I think this is the perfect matchup for it. One thing that does scare me, though, is Andy Reid is tremendous coming off of a bye week. This is why he's one of the best coaches of all time for a reason. So that, wants me to go with the Chiefs, but I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one to win and cover.
Hey, Nick Morganson.
You're right. This is a very, very tough matchup to judge. Again, no McCaffrey, probably not going to see him all season the way this is going with that injury. So that's a massive loss. Jordan Mason has kind of come down to earth a little bit, even though he's still playing good football. Like the league is starting to figure him out defensively. The Chiefs, on the other hand, like you said, Anthony, and I used this phrase before, they're a walking hospital too. Like you can't keep them on the field. Trust me, I know from Pacheco in fantasy. I haven't had him with the fibula injury. And now Rashee Rice going down with his injury. Like, I don't know how Mahomes is doing it with his offensive options going down, with Kelsey essentially being his lead back, essentially catching passes. I mean, the guy is a miracle, and that's just what I'm going to lean on. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win outright in this game on the road, because Mahomes figures it out, whether it's a tough game at home, tough game on the road. So I think it's going to be close, and close games favor Mahomes down the stretch. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win outright.
Ben.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Super Bowl rematch here. I do think that kind of like the Vikings-Lions matchup, the Chiefs are kind of bound to have a loss. I know that obviously it's kind of hard to find the losses in that overall schedule, but if any team could be able to beat them, it would be a team like this. Deebo Samuel is going to be back. He's 100% healthy. I wonder if Jordan Mason will be back for them. The one thing about the Chiefs is if you're playing a ton of these games, eventually he's going to have to crack at some point. And a team like the Niners, I think, is going to be able to take that advantage. They're going to be at home. They realize specifically what happened to them in the Super Bowl last year. Yes, I know that it's obviously not going to overtake in terms of what happened in the Super Bowl, but I think it could be some type of revenge factor in terms of, like, we know in terms of what happened. We're going to come here, try to essentially beat you. We pretty much know in terms of the way that what happened last year in terms of the game plan for Andy Reid. I know, Anthony, like you mentioned, Andy Reid's a very good coach, especially in the second half of the season, so it's going to be a really tough overall challenge. But I think the Niners are going to do enough to win this game, and I have them to cover here at 1.5.
I think this is going to be a fun game. I think this is going to be a really exciting matchup. And I want to believe in the 49ers, given that they are at home and they're going to have the chip on their shoulder from the Super Bowl. But Like Anthony said, Andy Reid, terrific coach when it comes to coming off the bye week. And one team has proven himself so far and the other hasn't. I mean, it's not good when after 5 weeks, guys, the 49ers, who are supposed to be the runaway favorite with the NFC, I shouldn't say runaway favorite, one of the favorites with the NFC, has the same record as the New York Giants. That's just not good. And that's attestable to the kind of injuries that the 49ers have been battling with. The Chiefs have been battling their own injuries, but they continue to bounce back. I feel like the 49ers are the best shot at ending the Chiefs' undefeated run. And yeah, absolutely, they are due for a loss, but I just have not seen anything in the 49ers to tell me that they are going to be able to do it. We can talk about the questionable referee calls in some of those games that the Chiefs win aside, but there's just that between Pat Mahomes and the way that the 49ers are playing now, I put a lot more trust and stock in Pat Mahomes. So I'm going to go with Nick Morgan's point of view. I'm going to go with a Chiefs outright upset of the 49ers. I shouldn't say upset, but given the line, given the spread.
It's a pick 'em.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. Pat.
So this is a very tough game to pick. I really don't lean heavily either way here. I do think that the Chiefs are due for a loss, and I do think that the Niners have looked at this game for a while as a game they needed to win just to make a point. It is going to be tough without McCaffrey. Obviously, they haven't had him all year, but I know they were hoping to have him, especially for games like this. No Jawan Jennings, but Ricky Pearsall making his debut. I think we could see a potentially big debut from him. I think I'll lean the Niners 1.5 at home. This is a very tough one. I'm very indecisive with this pick. It's a close line. And it's a close game.
I don't blame you. All right. Time for Sunday Night Football. And it's time for a pair of videos because two teams that are responsible to have videos are going to be featured in this one. So, Nick Morganson, I'll give you a choice. Shall we go with a certain team of yours or shall we go with a certain team of Zan's?
Let's go Steelers first.
Okay.
You ready?
What'd you say?
You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. And it's all about, the big news of this week. So let's talk about what the big news of this game is involving these two teams.
All right, here we go.
Steeler Nation, 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 Steeler Nation.
It's the return of Mr. Unlimited.
I can't stand him.
I hope you appreciate the Photoshop meme that look at me. I'm the QB now.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Let's do the real big news of this week, though.
Oh, you want the second video?
Yeah.
I was falling asleep at the wheel. All right, here we go.
He did it. He went to Devontae Adams' house. He had the boombox ready and everything. Come back to me, baby. Come back to me. And it works. It's Sunday Night Football. The Jets going over to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And the Jets are 1.5-point favorites on the road. Nick Morganson, Mr. Jets fan, please start us off because I really want to hear your thoughts on this game, considering what the Jets have done. And we already have heard about those thoughts on ETB, but now adding in that your favorite quarterback, Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson's in this too.
I mean, I heard some crazy thoughts about this game already. Who is this more pressure on? Is it on Russell Wilson to save his career or Aaron Rodgers to maybe be done after the end of the season? Number one. So that's one thought I have. Yeah, it was a bad loss last week. And I look at their schedule and I say, what games will they win? They should have won the Buffalo game last week. Tom, you agree with me, I think, on that one, that they probably should have won last week.
They had the opportunity there.
When your freaking field goal kicker misses 2 kicks from 42 or less, he should have been cut after the game for the way that he played. You hit the left upright twice. How often do you hit the upright more than once in the same spot? Okay? I'm not a fan of Devontae Adams trade, and I know everybody's going to get on me, but Nick, you're a Jets fan. What do you mean you don't like the Devontae Adams trade? You should have done this when you were a 500 team, not 2-4. This is as desperate of a team as it gets, and this is as desperate of a trade as they could make. I'm still on my prediction that they're going to finish under 500, that they're going to miss the playoffs. There's going to be turmoil in New York. And on top of that, I'm taking an upset, and I'm taking the Steelers to win outright.
Oh, surprise, surprise. All right. Ben Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Nick has been right the last couple of weeks. He's been picking against his Jets, and they have lost. So something must be going with the streak. But I don't know. Devontae Adams coming in. I do think that this really helps open up the Garrett Wilson hype as well, too, because I know that Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have been able to be good so far this year, but not, I wouldn't say great, kind of given their overall standards. But now he's going to be wide receiver 2 with Devontae Adams on the outside. I think that opens up a ton. And Russell Wilson, Nick, I mean, is it really going to be because of Russell Wilson winning, or is it just because of the Jets' offense? Because Russell Wilson has not played one single game yet.
It's not because of Russell Wilson. Get out of here. It's because the defense is going to hold them down.
Okay.
And
I was going to say.
I was also going to say George Pickens, who's supposed to be the number 1 wide receiver this year, has been an absolute disappointment for the Steelers and totally not playing up to his value of this team. Now, I don't blame that on him 100% because the quarterback situation has been a mess for the first 6 weeks.
But okay, actually, I'll let Ben finish because I have quite a take on this one.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at it. I'm a little surprised that Justin Fields, I know hasn't been like the end-all be-all, but I think that I know the last week he looked all right. Again, I know it's against a real bad team, but I would rather trust Justin Fields than it would to have Russell Wilson coming back against a Jets secondary that, you know, I know for the most part, Nick, I think for you guys has been decent, been fine, right? So, I mean, I just think about it. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, who do I trust more? I'm trusting more of the quarterback. I'm trusting the Jets side of things. The running attack is I think is a lot better. No, Najee Harris started to wake things up. The Steelers just don't score a ton of points consistently. Even though it's at home, it's a Sunday night type of game. I think that, you know, they're 2-4. They brought in Devontae Adams. They need this win. And I think that that's why they're going to win, because they need it. It's kind of like a desperation type of thing as well. Take the money here. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I think that I look at the quarterback situation, and I just don't know how to feel with Russ coming back for his first one. He's tend to be rusty. I know obviously last year, the first couple of games, he was really rusty over in Denver. So, yeah, I'm going with the Jets here. Take the money.
It's the battle of overrated quarterbacks. That's really the way I look at it.
Yeah, no doubt. And here's the thing, Nick. I probably would have taken the Steelers. I probably would have entering this week. The problem is, like, I get Fields has not been, I'll take Ben's words, the be-all, end-all, but he has played well. He has played well enough that he surprised people within the first few weeks of the season. I really don't understand this move. I mean, maybe it's the contract, but at the same time, like, Justin Fields has been doing well. Why all of a sudden risk turning your momentum around for the sake of putting Russell Wilson in favor of Justin Fields?
You know why? Because they wanted a name at the position. That's why.
Well, you also brought up another name in George Pickens. We had Mike Tomlin earlier today that we're recording to say the decision will be made in-house.
He's refusing to acknowledge it. Let's just admit the facts. That's what's happening.
And then George Pickens goes and babbles. I understand what you're saying about the Jets and the way that they've been playing and your feelings about them, and I'll validate them. But the problem is the way, you know, Pickens is, and the way that, you know, that whole situation went down with the quarterback, and just the quarterback move. With the Steelers, there is always something that unravels them in the middle of the season, in the middle of a good stretch. I think this is going to be that point. The signs are there that their upward momentum all of a sudden is now going to take all. Would you be surprised that when Russell Wilson comes in, that all of a sudden all the good momentum they have, you know, it's like, oh no, we might shatter Mike Tomlin just barely eking out 500 record. We got to put Russell in now to get the narrative right.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm not saying. First of all, I don't think this is a good move for the Steelers either. I think they should stay with Fields and just let him play. Let him play. Let him cook, as the kids say, and just let him earn his spot. Because eventually, I think the plan was to make him the long-term starter in the future.
The idea was that Russell Wilson was going to start and he was going to have a very short leash. But the way that he was hurt and then the way that Fields played, it feels like to me that if he was going to have the short leash anyway, then why are you making this move? It's stupid. I don't like it. I understand the Steelers have a devastating offense it's a devastating defense. Because of that, I don't think this is going to be a very high scoring game. At the same time, you got Davante Adams, as Ben mentioned, a chip on their shoulder now in a must-win situation. If this was Fields, I would say otherwise, but because of Russ and the way that the Steelers are starting to unravel, at least off the field, at least it seems on the surface, I'm going to go with Gangrene here. Take the money on the Jets.
By the way, if anyone is interested in the over-under, it is 38.5.
That feels high.
It is high.
That feels high, yeah. Pat?
So this game is so weird to pick. I mean, you got Russell Wilson coming in for the Steelers. You got Davante coming in for the Jets, obviously. And I feel like this is a kind of game. It feels like the kind of game that the Jets lose in heartbreaking fashion.
Exactly. Yes.
It really feels like the kind of game that the Jets just lose in
on Sunday Night Football too, which is
Sunday
even worse.
Night Football by 3 points, on a game-winning throw,
or they miss a field goal when they need one.
I don't know, but in my, I think it was funny, Tom, because you said the same thing I said, just different words. I said Mike Tomlin saw the team was looking to go better than 9-8, and he said, "No, we got to put a stop to this.
No,
we got to put a stop to this. Come on." So he had to put in Russ to kind of tone things down, but I still think they might pull out the win this week. I don't think the team will be great with Russ. I don't think Russ is great.
Alone?
Yeah, I just think that it'll be a close game. I could see I could see a 23-20 win for the Steelers, something like that.
All right, fair enough. Anthony, let's go to you.
Yeah, I feel like as these shows go on, I feel like people are going to start to get the impression that I'm the New York Jets fan, and I might as well leave Buffalo and move to New York because I never picked the Bills, and I always seem to pick the Jets. And I may surprise some people, but give me the Jets as my lock of the week.
What?
Whoa!
What?
Oh, yeah.
Wait. What the Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
So I know it's a pretty surprising pick, but I just think coming off of that emotional loss, the Jets cannot lose again. And I really think Davante Adams is a huge acquisition. I mean, you got to remember when Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers last played together, Aaron Rodgers was winning MVPs. And I feel like they both haven't been the same since they left each other. I know Davante Adams has had some good numbers with Derek Carr and some of the other quarterbacks with the Raiders, but Aaron Rodgers is his boy. And they're best friends. And Aaron Rodgers even said when Davante Adams called him and said, "Hey, I'm on a plane," Aaron Rodgers' heart dropped because he knows what this guy is going to do for their team. When you move Garrett Wilson as your number 2 wide receiver, that's going to be really tough to defend. And we see Breece Hall finally emerge last week. He had his best game of the season. And he's definitely a piece that they're definitely going to need going forward. And obviously, I do think at the end of the day, the defense is still good. Obviously, Sauce Gardner has his questions with the penalties here and there. The pass rush outside of Will McDonald has been inconsistent, but I still overall like their defense, and I'm really upset and pissed off at the Steelers. I mean, I understand that maybe they've been winning despite of Justin Fields, but I feel like you have to make a quarterback switch coming off of a loss. And for you to get rid of Justin Fields after being 4-2, I just feel like that's devastating for a young guy like that. And how often do you see a young guy in his prime at 25 get benched for the older quarterback? It's definitely, I think, a bad decision. I think you got to keep Justin Fields. I don't like Russell Wilson right now, but I think the Jets are going to win and they're going to cover, and that's why they're my lock of the week.
By the way, I just want to point out one thing because you said that Aaron Rodgers said his heart dropped when he heard the trade. This trade would have gone through on opening day if they could have figured this out. I don't want to hear that Aaron Rodgers was surprised that this trade.
Well,
Devontae had his exit strategy in place on opening day when he was playing for Vegas.
apparently, Devontae Adams got asked last year, even in terms of like about Garrett Wilson with the Jets kind of overall last year, and apparently like they were talking about like how they would love to team up and stuff. So even like last year, even so, it's crazy to think that like they delayed this so hard for them to sign it, even though that the Devontae still had to technically play a little bit on the Raiders. It was inevitable, but we just didn't know it right until the time of the time.
And by the way, this is going to stunt Garrett Wilson, bringing Devontae Adams in.
Well, let me add one other thing, guys. You keep talking about Garrett Wilson's number two. Number two, are we forgetting about Alan Lazard still there? Another one of Aaron's
Screw
boys.
Alan Lazard.
He's
No
been
one
good, though.
cares.
He's been really good.
He's only here because of Aaron Rodgers.
All Alan Lazard does is catch his touchdowns.
Okay, that's fine, but I don't
Who
want to
would've
hear
thought?
that he's like this amazing wide receiver that in all of football.
Nick, I think you need to take a chill pill.
REL.
Oh, shut up!
X.
I don't want to hear that anymore. I'm tired of him.
All right. Now, boys, I have a special treat because it's time for doubleheader Monday Night Football once again.
Oh, goody.
Goody. And two matchups that are interesting. Here's the good matchup. The Baltimore Ravens traveling down to Tampa to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite at home. Let me do some quick calculations here. Ben, you can start us off on this one.
Yeah, I actually really like this matchup. You have the Buccaneers who have been really able to score a ton offensively. Their defense obviously has had some questions, but I do think when I look at it, you got two really good offenses on both sides here. I do, the 3.5, I think it's pretty fair when you look at the line. But I love the Ravens here. They're on the road. They actually beat the Bucs at Tampa. I don't know, it was last year or before. But the addition of Derrick Henry has just been absolutely massive. They're obviously a really heavy running type of team, but Derrick Henry feels like he's turning back the clock from the last couple of years. And I think it's partly because of the offensive line, but I also think that, they're using him in different ways to keep him fresh. So yeah, I like the Ravens here. I think that they cover this overall spread. I was thinking possibly, I know that the 0.5 here it's going to be a close one. And I was thinking maybe the Bucs may be able to cover that one, but I don't see it. I just think the Ravens are just a really high power machine right now. So yeah, I'm going to have them to cover here and take the money.
Yeah, this is one that, like you said, Ben, because of that hook, I've been kind of leaning both ways. I definitely think I'm going to go with the Ravens this one. I don't want to disrespect Baker Mayfield and the incredible Tampa offense that he has been leading so far. Having said that, though, the Ravens are the top team and are one of the top teams in the AFC for a reason. They are a juggernaut. Obviously, they had the rough start with those two games, but we talked about the idea way back when about the potential of them starting 0-2, and they have looked great ever since, and they continue to just surge. And I think the way that they have been playing, I don't think Tampa is going to have the ability to stop them. So I'm going to go Ravens, take the money. Pat.
Ravens. No, I was very close to making the Ravens as my lock of the week, actually. I like the Buccaneers, and their offense is high-powered, but I really don't think their defense is that good. I'm still not sold on them overall.
Yeah.
Like, they still lost weird games that they shouldn't be losing, like that Broncos game especially. And I think the Ravens are just a team that has underperformed so far this year that I don't expect to really continue to underperform. So give me the Ravens to cover here.
Crazy part doesn't even feel like they're underperforming. Like you feel like they could be in another level, and they're averaging around 25 plus.
Well, the thing is, it's like when you watch the games, it's not even like they're underperforming. It's more like just looking at their record.
That's
Just
true.
like it feels like it could be better or should be better almost. So like it's like the Bengals, especially.
Mhm.
Like they're a team that like they shouldn't be as bad as their record indicates.
True.
Anthony.
Yeah, take the money on the Ravens to win and cover. I think this can be a really good, fun matchup to watch. I think this could be a shootout because surprisingly, even though the Ravens have, talent on their defense with, Kyle Van Noy, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, for some reason their secondary has been pretty bad this year, and I don't know why. And the Buccaneers, obviously, their defense has been hit or miss as well. So you're going to have a shootout with Baker Mayfield or Chris Godwin, who's been playing at a high level, But at the end of the day, like I said it before, and I'll say it again, as a defensive coordinator, I don't know how you stop the Ravens. How do you stop Derrick Henry, maybe one of the biggest, most opposing running backs in NFL history? You got maybe the most athletic quarterback in NFL history with Lamar Jackson. They got two good tight ends. They got Zay Flowers. I don't know how you stop this offense. So the Ravens are a juggernaut, like you guys said, even though the Buccaneers are probably a playoff team that could win their division as well. But there's levels to this, and the Ravens are just at a different level than the Buccaneers right now. So give me the Ravens to win and cover.
Nick Morganson.
Yeah, I have the Ravens here in a cover scenario. I have their schedule up. If you look at their last 4 games, pretty tough opponents that they won 4 in a row. At Dallas, against Buffalo at home, at Cincinnati versus Washington. Very tough 4 opponent stretch that they went through after losing their first 2 opening against KC and losing to Vegas, which is probably the glaring loss on their record so far. I like the Bucs. They're a scrappy team. Baker is a scrappy quarterback that earned the contract that he got. But I just think the Ravens are a better team. Lamar is a better quarterback. I think he could do more with the football. So I'm taking the Ravens to cover.
All right. And then at 9 o'clock, a little more of an ugly game. The Los Angeles Chargers traveling over to Arizona as a
ESPN Plus
favorite.
exclusive, by the way.
That's right. -2 favorite are the Chargers against the Cardinals. Questions about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s availability, if he will be good to go for this week. I'm going to go with the Chargers because of a couple of reasons. Number one, they have actually looked pretty good under Harbaugh. I know they're kind of shaky. They play some ugly matchups, but to quote USA Today, when it comes to ugly matchups, Los Angeles has shown that it has the ability to win those games. And something very key, we can talk about Justin Herbert, question about him, his health, his weapons, all we want. You know what else helps this Los Angeles team? Their defense. They have a top 10 defense in this league. I believe entering this week, they are the number 1 in scoring defense. And I think, especially if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not playing, that's going to be some trouble for this Cardinals team, especially when we're talking about a 2-point spread. So I'm going LA, take the money.
I think the Cardinals are so much better than they are. I think it has to be a coaching thing because I really do think this team is decent. I at least roster-wise, I think this team should be a lot better than it is. The Chargers are just coached so much better. It's hard to pick against them in this game. They've been winning a lot of games just based on the run and the defense. Me and my friend statted out their season, and they're projected right now for, I think it was 2,500 team rushing yards and 2,800 team passing yards.
That's insane.
I've never seen anything like it.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
And to think it was like about 15 or so years ago that they ended up missing the playoffs because they had the worst special teams, but they had one of the best offense and defenses.
Yeah. So it's just but they're projected to run for so many yards. They're just a run and defense team, and it's been working. And against a team like the Cardinals that just rely on the offense so heavily, I think it really could work. So I will take the Chargers -2 here.
All right. Anthony.
Yeah, Pat, you were saying how you just don't understand, why the Cardinals are not a better team than they are. And I think it has a lot to do with just they don't have enough talent on their defense. There's just not a lot of difference makers on that defense, particularly in the defensive line and at the pass rush to really make a difference. Obviously, there's some underrated guys that you could bring up. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they have the talent on defense. Kyler Murray and the offense can only do so much. And the Chargers, I love, Harbaugh. Being a huge college football fan, I've been huge on Harbaugh for years, and I think what he did with Michigan, what he did with the San Francisco 49ers, I had no doubt in my mind that he would get the most out of Justin Herbert, and he'd get the most out of the Chargers. And he always seems to play a good running game, and his teams always seem to play good defense. That's exactly what they're doing. They don't have a true number 1 receiver. Obviously, Ladd McConkey, I like them coming out of college. But they don't need a true number 1 receiver. They can rely on their run game with J.K. Dobbins, and they can rely on that great defense. And against the Cardinals, who obviously have questions right now, I'm going to go with the Chargers to win and cover, so take the money.
Nick Morganson.
Yeah, I don't like this game at all. That's why it's an ESPN Plus exclusive, because probably a lot of people don't want to watch it. Just my opinion. I'm not a Herbert guy. You know I'm not a Herbert guy. But at the same time, with Marvin Harrison, it looked like, by the way, I just looked it up. It looks like he's going to be a full go for the Cardinals.
Okay.
So it looks like he's going to play. So I don't think that's going to be a factor. But these are two quarterbacks I do not like. And Tom knows for the record that I don't like either of these quarterbacks. I don't like Kyler. I don't like Justin Herbert. But of the lesser two evils for me, I'm going to take Justin Herbert with the Chargers. I just think they're a better team. And I think offensively they can do a little bit more. And even with Harrison on the field, I don't know if he's 100% healthy, so that might affect some of the offensive weapons. So I'm gonna take the cover on the Chargers.
Ben Cruz, finish us off.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close one. I don't really know in terms of if I have full belief in this Cardinals team. They're just very inconsistent. Defensively, I do think that there's some holes there. Offensively, I do really like James Conner in that running game, and I know Kyler's obviously been utilizing Marvin Harrison Jr., some other guys offensively. The Chargers, I really haven't been picking a lot this year for some odd reason. I picked against them against Denver last week. Shame on me for that. I'm going to pick them this week. John Harbaugh has done a pretty solid job with them. They've been really relying heavily on their running game, just like Arizona has. But I look at the overall coaching matchup. I think the Harbaugh's better than Gannon, I'm pretty sure, who it is for Arizona. Even though that Arizona has been a decent team this year, I do think that they're kind of due for a little regression. They kind of had a really good start to the year, but I think that's going to kind of even out throughout the season. So give me the Chargers here. It's -2, but I do think it's going to be a really good game, a close game, and a fun game.
All right. Now, before we wrap things up.
Oh, no, I saw it. Yeah.
So I did make mention of one bye team when we talked about the NFC North at the start of the show. We talked about the Bears on the bye. There's another team that's on the bye this week that is in the headlines right now for how bad that they've been playing, and now their owner being an absolute crybaby. So I can't resist but end the show with this. How about them? How about them? How about them Cowboys? How about them? How about them? How about them Cowboys? How about them? How about them? How about them Cowboys? Because, Jerry, I'd like to know why you are threatening people's jobs. I'd like to know why you are being such an ass when the team that you have put together, it just conveniently, I didn't need to make many moves in the offseason. All those plays, the whole time that I have in the defense because I lost all those players. Screw it. I got Zeke back. I got everything I need here. I signed CD. I signed Dak. We're going to be a Super Bowl team. What the hell?
Man.
Like,
Caught
honestly,
me off guard with that one.
About them Cowboys. So I now, I'm making more work for myself, but we have Jets country take flight. We have Steeler Nation. I guess we're gonna have to now introduce how about them Cowboys as a meme.
Probably. I mean, like I said, I worked in the radio business for a long time. I didn't appreciate the fact that he totally called for somebody's job all because the radio host asked, how are you handling a 47-9 loss, which is probably the most embarrassing loss in their history, if I had to take a guess.
And on Jerry Jones's birthday, no less.
Well, and also, here's the misconception. I'll say it quick. He's the GM under an owner slot.
And I'm the best GM in this league, Mr. Morganson.
Yeah, okay. When's the last time you won a Super Bowl?
When's the last time your Jets won a Super Bowl, boy?
I guess I have no words for that. But my point is, he's a terrible man, and and he's gonna have to sell the team if the Cowboys want to win a title. Plain and simple.
I love all the Texas sports news people just calling him out. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, well, that's going to do it for Football Forecast Week 7. Follow us on social media at TFB Forecast ETB. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you follow those pages. We will drop everything, including the episode, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Hot Take of the Week, which there was quite a few, Lone Wolf of the Week. Which I think we may have to do a couple of hot takes or something because I don't think we had a Lone Wolf this week. That's true. I think you're right. We pretty much a lot of us agreed on picks this week,
There was a lot of agreement this week, I have to say.
but make sure you check out all those pages. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel for the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, youtube.com/ETB Network, where all our shows are up there. You see all the names scrolling across the bottom if you want to check everybody's shows out that they are a part of. So please make sure you go check that out as well. And make sure you follow the ETB Network Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well to find everything that we're doing, and listen to the Football Forecast wherever you get your podcast. If you don't want to watch us yelling and screaming at each other on video, you can listen to it in your ears and make sure they don't bleed in the process while listening. So I think that'll do it. At the same time, the Football Forecast presented by Playback as well. And make sure you tune in for our NBA streams opening night, October 22nd, 7:15 p.m. start. So make sure you come join a bunch of us as we watch Knicks Celtics and Lakers Timberwolves as well. Okay, Nick can breathe now. That'll do it for week 7 of the Football Forecast. For everybody here at the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, go enjoy the football, and we will see you for week 8. So have a good week, everybody, and we will see you next week.
See you.